Let's talk about the paper. And like you would think, like me, Dan, this is a person who I don't know if it coincided with our podcast time together, Dan, but you certainly are familiar with it. One of my favorite characters of all time in the 616 is like Frank Miller's Ben Urich.
Yeah.
I love a good journalist. I love a good journalism story. And yet, again, in a similar vein to the Harry Osborn problem, it's like the paper is this very interesting subplot, and yet, is it really a subplot, Dan? Because like there are so many issues in this 6 issue run here where like the paper is the dominant plot of the book.
Yes.
And not only is it dominant, but it's like it's dominant in the fact that it's basically piecing together things that we already know. So it's not even like they're using it to advance new revelations. They're not. It's this is such a strange subplot that in terms of how they're narrating it and weaving it into this story, and like I can't fully embrace it, even though like there's this inherent part of me that really wants to love this because I love a good newspaper story, and this is like it's not quite there for me. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're watching like the detectives in the movie Zodiac, but you already know who the Zodiac killer is. Like the whole intrigue of that is like it could be anyone, and like any corner they turn around, like, but we already know. We know everything about them, and so like all of the kind of piecemeal journalism stuff that is normally fun in detective stories of like, you put pressure on him and I'm going to good cop, bad cop him and find out what information we can get and get them to slip up. Like, that's all interesting to read here. And it's done well. Like, the interplay between Ben and Jonah is really fun. I would read a whole comic about those two running a newspaper together. But, like, the mystery that they're unpacking, I already know who did it. And so like I guess I can get enjoyment of like how they go about finding it, and the interplay, and like how Robbie Robertson is tied into this and stuff. Like that stuff is fun, but to spend this much time on it and have us already know all the stuff, it's kind of boring. And anytime there is a wrinkle where there's potential for drama, it's completely avoided. So like they go and they put the pressure on Gwen, and they're like, yeah, we know that own like Osborne, the company owns like Stark, and she's like, I want my money back. And then like the next scene is Harry going like, okay, look, like let's absolve that, like, and they're like, yeah, actually we're not interested in you, we're interested in who owned it before. And it's like, I guess so, but now you've completely flattened whatever tension there is about like who's backing this company. Right. And like even Mary Jane says like, oh, well, like you guys are doing well enough on your own, you don't really need them anymore. And it's like, why add that line? Yeah. Like, let me worry about the financial solvency of the paper. It just like it backs out of drama whenever it can. And the biggest one, this to me, one of the dumbest things I've read on a comic book page. I think I even texted you like, Mark, Ultimate Spider-Man 10 has the dumbest ending I've ever read in like a Spider-Man comic. And that's, I'm sure, hyperbole. Like we've read a lot of really dumb things like in our time on this show.
For sure.
But like the whole thing is like them building up to cracking like the Kingpin's like, thing and blowing it wide open. The Kingpin is working with the Maker, and he is controlling all this stuff behind the scenes. What's their first stop in the issue? They go to like pressure his like attorney or whatever, like Wesley from the Daredevil series.
Yep.
So like he knows directly who is pressuring him immediately. It's the first place they go. Right. So they're like, okay, we don't want anyone to know that we're the ones who wrote this, even though we're publishing it in our paper that just consists of you and me, Ben and Jonah. So we'll disguise who is outing the Kingpin as Ben Reilly. And it's like, you're telling me this secret cabal couldn't look up that the maiden name of your dead wife was Riley, and you kept the first name the same. Okay, so that's dumb in universe. But it's even dumber that it's like, aha, here's the big twist. You, the reader, know who Ben Reilly is, and I'm going to name drop that I know who Ben Reilly is. And it's like, oh, deep catch there, Jonathan Hickman. You must really read your Spider-Man comics. Like, you've heard of Ben Reilly before. I'm amazed.
You're going to have to forgive me because I'm going to do like an early Simpsons reference because I always have to in these moments. It's like that episode of The Simpsons when they were like, we got an anonymous complaint from Elisa S. No, that's too obvious. Let's say L. Simpson. I mean, that's like that is like what that, like I was so dumbfounded by that ending. I had to keep rereading it and being like, wait, what am I missing here? Like, why are they doing that? Like, this doesn't obscure anything, does it? Like, am I missing something? Like, it was like being gaslit on this comic. Like, I'm like, is there like a twist here that I'm just not, that's too smart for me that I'm not understanding? And it's like, no, it's
that's
just
what they
dumb.
That's what they were hoping for, Mark. Kingpin would have to think like you. This is too stupid to be right. Yeah.
Like you can't possibly think that is how you would hide that, right? No. God.
Even worse, though, Mark. Okay, let's say, like, okay, maybe it was meant to be dumb and they're overconfident, right? And Kingpin would see right through it. Okay. There's no follow-through.
Right.
The Kingpin is outed, and we never check back in on that ever again.
Well, it's only been 2 months, Dan. So, I mean, like, their MLK day is going to be rough, let me tell you.
Oh, boy. Our MLK day is going to be rough because Swarm's coming back on that day.
That's right. There we go.
What are you going to do? Anyway, so hopefully that is buried enough that people aren't really getting what I'm referencing. But, yeah, okay. So, like, if this book is all about them, like Spider-Man aiming to take down the powers that be, boy, do we get no follow-up on that after the biggest blow is made, Right. So, yeah. What is this story? I don't know.